I'm Hooves of Doom, and this video is about the Dead and Divine reveals. Okay, so despite a few leaked images and models earlier this week, there's still kind of plenty left to discuss. And, you know, I know people are expecting a lot of different things from these types of reveals, but I was fairly impressed. I think that we got quite a lot to go with, and I'm very optimistic about the future here as well. So we knew there was going to be kind of a new game being promoted, and some had speculated that it would be kind of a restyled Warhammer Quest with a vampire hunter aesthetic. They were exactly right. That new game is Warhammer Quest Cursed City. It's really very much a continuation of a Silver Tower and Shadows over Hammerhall, and very much in the line even of Blackstone Fortress. I cannot tell you how excited I am for this game, actually. I think it looks absolutely amazing. It takes place in the Cursed City of Ulfrenkarn, kind of filled with all sorts of bizarre creatures. You could see some of those in kind of the preview video. And these really seem to live up to that description, as they are kind of truly grotesque and really genuine worthy villains to overcome. Like, they are truly bizarre. And you can see in the video kind of several of these strange creatures, both traditional, undead, and kind of the mutated inhabitants of the city. At the center of the city, in the main throne room, there are 3 villains. 4 of the main heroes were also teased, and the concepts here are really cool. You can see something like a wood elf, like a wanderer, a Duardin, something a little larger that may have been kind of teased on New Year's Day, perhaps. 2 models were, however, fully unveiled. One is Helgelsen Daruk. And we knew this guy was coming, but man, is he absolutely great. I love the Underslun stake launcher. It's not a crossbow like some people had thought, but this is really cool. And, you know, in my opinion, this is absolutely stunning. A lot of character, just kind of the absolute perfection of a model. You can't really imagine a cooler vampire hunter, and yet more will likely follow. So, also a great model for Inquisitor in 40k too. So please, Games Workshop, give us more of this aesthetic. The second model was kind of quickly depicted in the left in the throne room. This guy is Gorslav the Gravekeeper. And if this guy is any indication of the craziness of these sculpts, we're in for a real treat. Like, let me tell you, these 2 models alone make me highly anticipate this game, and just seeing what else is here. This guy is straight from a Guillermo del Toro movie. You know, he is absolutely channeling that monster in Pan's Labyrinth, but even more over the top, right? He has these fence posts rammed into his shoulder blades, kind of the flesh hook. I love that crazy spear / a shovel. Honestly, Age of Sigmar needs more crazy undead creatures, and this fits perfectly. Also, there's a new website for the Cursed City, so be sure to sign up for the newsletter if you're interested in more news and future releases. The update has a map, and there are 6 different heroes or agents of defiance planned. That's awesome, alright? I was expecting just 4 based on the video, so I was really excited to see that on the website. And on top of the minions throughout the city, there are 5 overlords, of which Gorslav is but 1. So really a lot to explore here. I'm really thrilled by this release and its possibilities. And there are several districts in the actual city. And wouldn't it be amazing if this game was supported like Blackstone Fortress, of kind of several smaller expansions that flush out that whole urban environment? I kind of want some cool urban terrain here, but that seems a little less likely. So we'll see what we get, but honestly, based on those 2 models, I'm really looking forward to this. Okay, so Age of Sigmar. Most of the Lumineth Realm, models were kind of revealed or spoiled earlier this week, but we did get one last model and many future teases. So ultimately, the Lumineth are going from this weird spot where they had a fairly limited range of models to just an absolute abundance. So, float like a butterfly and sting like a bee, I guess. This is Severeth, Lord of the Seventh Wind. He is kind of a type of archer avatar and has a very strong kind of anime vibe. And also the Lumineth continue with kind of the annual theme, this time with kind of a swift fox aesthetic. I'm generally not a fan of those types of over-the-top swirls that dominate the model. Just sometimes a little too difficult to kind of build and paint and to use practically on the tabletop, but the model is quite cool. Very nice little quiver, flaming arrowheads, and I think he's quite cute. I do want to know kind of what's underneath that mask, and hopefully it isn't a little pig snout or something, We'll find out. Maybe. So many more Lumineth kits were teased, and I think this is one of the more pivotal points here. The swordsmen that are now kind of referenced seemingly everywhere in Dark Chasm stories, art, and videos. But it looks like there'll be a new spellcaster, kind of a banner bearer, more mounted units, kind of a type of larger bolt thrower or artillery. That's pretty cool. And like I said, just an abundance of riches. Like, if these are what's coming, Lumineth are going to be in a really good spot. And all of this, of course, coincides with the Broken Realms tech list that was unveiled yesterday. This book will have kind of rules for Lumineth Realm-Lords, naturally. The cities of Sigmar, the Meggetkin of Nurgle, Flesh Eater Courts, Osiarch Bone Reapers. I really like how so many factions are getting some love here. Spread that out. This is kind of a completely different splattering of factions than those in Morathi. That's good to see. A little bit strange that the current short fiction is fixated towards destruction, but I'm sure it will all make sense soon enough. And we also have a new Daughters of Cain book coming out. That seemed a little surprising, but it does keep in line with the events of Broken Realms. There's been quite a change in narrative, and I guess that needs to be, updated a bit. And there are some new endless spells. The Blood Rack Viper, the Blade Wind, and the Heart of Fury. Lots of blood, lots of snakes. I'm not sure about the Blade Wind myself, but the Viper in hand are quite cool. The book should be released shortly, as it will be available at the same time as their sworn enemies, the Hedonites of Slaanesh, which are expected next month in February. The community article asks, will you side with the bloodthirsty murder cult of serpent assassins or the bad guys? This is just kind of a funny acknowledgement of just how crazy the representation of order in Age of Sigmar truly is. Kind of leaning in that direction, a little more towards the 40k narrative where no one is truly kind of a good guy. But, so now returning to Warhammer Underworlds. Now, obviously, the vampire with bats and crazy hair that was leaked earlier this week led a lot of people to anticipate kind of a much fuller and robust Soulblight vampire release. We didn't quite get that. The lone model raises some questions, right? Like, presumably that would have been unveiled today. I'm not really sure how that would have been received if it was just kind of a one-off model. But given kind of Cursed City and some of the other pushes in this direction, I kind of remain hopeful that we will see a full Soulblight release at some point. In the meantime, we have the Crimson Court for Warhammer Underworlds. And in kind of typical Underworlds fashion, each of these models is a named character, kind of in their own right. And man, these are great. Very cool spectrum from aristocratic and kind of martial vampires to kind of half-beast aesthetics. The vampire with the two swords is great. The blood armor is just awesome. Very much tied into like the vampire on the zombie dragon, and kind of a callback to Vlad and some of the earlier vampires. I absolutely love the stoical vampire with his giant mace. Really cool, really great. I love these a lot. And, despite some speculation, Games Workshop seems to be doubling down on the traditional Gothic aesthetic. And this new vampire warband is all about aggression in the game. But it can come with heavy penalties if you don't control their hunger. But, really great alternative sculpts for vampires, and hopefully we'll have a good place for those in Age of Sigmar soon enough. The release cycle has been pushed back a bit for Warhammer Underworlds. It's pushed back about a month, with the first 3 warbands of the year so far have just been incredible. It looks like the 4th will be Bone Splitters, which I can't wait to see, and Osiarch Bone Reapers and Idenef Deepkin will follow soon afterward. Now, the best part, in my opinion, is that this is just the schedule for the first 6 months. That's crazy. So who knows what we'll see in the later part of the year. So for 40k, we have kind of this beautiful stained glass animation to reveal the Paragon Warsuit for the Sisters of Battle. Now, maybe it's just me, but I love stained glass windows, and so that was a very cool intro video. The Paragon Warsuit really seems to live up to their name as kind of the pinnacle of warsuits, and they fill kind of that needed heavy armor, heavy unit role in niche in the army. Visually, they're very much like smaller Grey Knight Nemesis battlesuits, and they are kind of really complement the aesthetics already in the army through things like the Exorcist and the Penitent engines. Naturally, they're kind of armed with the holy trinity of Flamer, Melta, and Bolter, as well as some close combat weapons. My Sisters of Battle army is growing steadily, and when I come to it later this year, I'll likely pick up some of these to complement that force. I think Mrs. Hooves might be convinced to play the odd game of 40k if I can get a Sisters of Battle army together. So I really wasn't expecting this release. We do know that there's a box set coming out later that pits Sisters against Drukhari. I'm somewhat perplexed by these types of, small release windows every couple of years, but the future here does look good for the Sisters. There are more releases supposedly planned for the year, and we'll see what happens there. Alright, so for Kill Team, there is the Pariah Nexus box set, a new expansion taking place on kind of a Necron tomb world. These models were unveiled previously, but they seem to be highly anticipated. People need the flayed ones, they need the heavy intercessors, and this is where you can get them. You can also get a Space Marine Captain in Gravis armor, which can give you kind of a Gravis themed build, and a Necron, a Chronomancer as well. All very cool models. I'm sure they will be scalped on the secondary market if this is the only place to get them in the meantime. These are the full kits, right? Kill Team does not have its own separate line of models, so these are the traditional kits with many different build options. The Pariah box set contains kind of new objective cards, a new book with rules to use models from the Indominus box set in Kill Team. Makes me think that this was probably scheduled to be released much sooner. And some new Necron terrain. Now, I'm all for different types of terrain in 40k. I really loved seeing kind of the new terrain for Tau and other things, but this is pretty limited, right? You're just looking at a couple doors and small barriers. It's not something that you could easily use in your traditional games of Warhammer 40k. And even Kill Team outside of kind of the board here might be a little limited, but still nice to see. Okay, so Adeptus Titanicus. And we had this little creative kind of monster video here, styled, on old vampires or Frankenstein movies. And then we had our first look at the Warmaster Heavy Battle Titan. Now, this is actually based off a sketch by Jess Goodwin. First in sketched it previously, but it was published in the Gothic and the Eldritch art book from 2001. I happen to have that book. It's kind of a cool little source book for different concepts. I really like when they explore those older threads, and so that's really nice to see. But this thing is an absolute beast. It's armed with a missile launcher and a pair of plasma destructors. And there are obviously more missiles on its back and smaller guns pointing out all over the place, on its knee, on its back. It's just crazy. Everything you need to build and play with the Warmaster is contained in its box. It's actually a really cool and hefty kit. Like, it really has a big presence. It looks like it's just going to do some real damage in the game. And I can only imagine that those plasma cannons do some real work. So this is a really kind of fearsome Titan that is even larger than the Warlord class, making it, I think, the largest Titan to date for Adeptus Titanicus. And I don't know if we'll actually see the mighty Imperator class, but my guess is that we will in time. They even hinted at it in this, so in their reveal. So I think we will see something even bigger. So there are also a new book based on the Loyalist Legios. How to organize, how to play with kind of the Loyalist faction. And very likely there'll be an upcoming book for the Traitor Legios. So all good things here. I still don't quite have a good sense and confidence in the release cycle. We'll have to see how kind of COVID and global commerce is affected here, but there are many good things in the pipeline and even better things to be hoped for in the future. I'm very excited for everything here. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you in the next video. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching. Please consider supporting the channel by commenting on the video, hitting that little like button, and subscribing for more Warhammer content.